So today we're going to make a traditional Chinese curry paste, and it's used in Chinese restaurants all over the world. These are the ingredients that we're going to be using. This curry paste will make a really large batch and is enough to make around 20 portions of curry, so it's ideal for making ahead and storing in the fridge and freezer for later use, or even sharing with your friends and family. So to start off with, I'm going to just warm up the pan. It's on the highest temperature just so that we can get this oil nice and hot. So all the oil goes into this pan, and we're just going to warm it up so that we can start frying off the onions and the garlic, which go in first. So let's just give that a second. We have onions and we have cloves of garlic. So the process is to slowly saute the onions until they've started to go slightly brown, and then we add the whole cloves of garlic, and then we just fry those off slowly for about 15 to 20 minutes. So the idea is that it's going to be on a medium to low heat, and we're going to get the flavours of the onions and the garlic to infuse into the oil. So I can hear that the oil is slightly popping now, so I will turn that down to a medium to low heat. So again, we start with the sliced white onions. So I have sliced them fairly finely. Just going to pop those in there. So it is on a medium to low heat, and that is so that we don't actually burn any of the ingredients. So I grew up in a Chinese family. My parents came to the UK in the late 1970s as teenagers, and back in those days, Chinese immigrants from Hong Kong quite often fell into the catering industry. They opened a Chinese takeaway and have been running Chinese businesses ever since. So they have taught me how to cook through me helping out in the restaurants and the takeaway businesses, and I have decided that I'm going to teach you how to cook these meals too. So it's very odd. The Chinese community like to keep their recipes very secretive, and it's only really because my parents have retired now that they're actually willing to share their recipes. But they aren't complicated. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit. But they are very specific to the family, and people don't like to share. Turn that down a little bit more. I am going to add the garlic. So all in one. Just be careful, making sure that doesn't splash, because that is going to be very painful if you get an oil burn. So again, just give that a little bit of a stir and just let those fry. It's been about 10 to 15 minutes and the onions and the garlic are very lightly browned. They've shrunk quite a lot because they've lost a lot of their moisture. So this is when we add the other aromatics. So we start off with the lemongrass. It doesn't have to be in this order. Lemongrass, stalks, and we've got the cinnamon, we've got the bay leaves, and of course we have the chillies and the cloves. So I'm just going to again give those a little bit of a stir, and once again we leave this for about 15 minutes. We basically take it off the heat and we'll take all of these ingredients out Once the onions and the garlic have reached quite a deep brown colour, again, not burnt, otherwise it will go bitter, but just enough to get the sweetness out of those ingredients. So just keep your eye on it and give it a stir every few minutes and make sure that you don't wander off and forget about it. This is the pan as you will see it when you are frying all of the aromatics. So as you can see, it's just bubbling away nicely, nothing has browned too much yet, and they are just slowly simmering away in the oil and releasing all of their delicious oils and flavouring that oil for us. We have now got a aromatic and delicious smelling oil. It's had all of the ingredients that we have fried taken out of it, and I've just put it back on a medium to low heat so that we can get that started with warming up again and then moving on to the next steps of making our Chinese curry paste. So the block of coconut cream I've just opened and I've just broken into smaller pieces, and I'm just going to really carefully add that into the hot oil. Now that is going to slowly melt into the oil and it's going to flavour it with the coconut flavour. So we'll just leave that for a few minutes. The coconut cream actually really thickens this oil. I can actually feel that is actually a lot thicker than how it was just before, as well as adding the flavour. Of course, we've also got the flour, which acts as the thickener. Once this coconut cream has melted, we will turn it to a really low heat and start adding our dry ingredients. So I think that is done. So as you can see, it doesn't take very long. So I'm just going to turn this right down. Okay, and so first of all we add the curry powder very carefully. As I said before, it's very, very hot and it is starting to foam up. So just keep that stirring to get the air out of it. And then we're going to add our turmeric. And finally we add the plain white flour, but we're going to do it in stages because we need to make sure that it's evenly whisked in. So I'm going to stir it in 3 batches, and you'll see that it's going to start thickening immediately. Just be really careful that you're not splashing it out of the pan. As you can see, it's quite full and it is very, very hot. And so next lot we're going to add in. So it's getting a lot thicker now, and it's becoming quite difficult to turn it. You might have noticed that I haven't used any seasoning in terms of salt and pepper, sugar, that kind of thing. And that's because we actually add it when we're cooking the meal, not into the paste. Now that's just a personal preference. You don't have to do it in that way. It's just much easier to control the flavouring if you do it like that. So that's the way that we choose to do it. So at the moment there's no sugar or salt, anything like that. We'll add it in when it's time to cook the meal using our delicious homemade curry paste. Really thickened up now, so there's barely any liquid left in there. It's very thick and the flour is quite evenly distributed. I can't really see any white lumps. So you will find that it is ready when the oil that's in this, or that delicious aromatic oil, starts to separate from the paste. You'll get a slick of oil, and that's when you know that it's done. So as you can see, after an hour or so of slowly simmering, the oil has slightly separated from our homemade curry paste, and that's exactly what we're looking for. And at this point we turn off the heat and let it cool completely. Don't worry about the oil separating, that's exactly what we want to happen. Once we decant that into an airtight container to put into the fridge, that oil is actually going to help to preserve the curry paste, and that will help it to last in the fridge for 2 to 3 weeks. Now, if you want to use the curry paste straight away to make a curry, that's fine, but it is best to actually keep it to mature for 2 to 3 days before you actually use it. That's really going to help to develop the flavours even more. If you want to freeze them straight away, then you can put them into smaller portions and freeze them into blocks, and then they can be stored in Ziploc bags or other containers, and you can take out the amount that you need for that meal. So I'm just going to turn the heat off, and I'm just going to let that completely cool down, and then I'll show you how we make our Chinese curry dish from our homemade curry paste.